New Pelicans trade details have been leaked, giving you some insight on what the front office is thinking while everybody else is making moves. And it's going to come down to one word, y'all: patience. We're going to talk about all the possible or maybe not possible moves that the Pelicans could be thinking about inside this edition of Pelicans Digest. What's good with it, y'all? It's your people, Melz On The MIC, back once again inside Pelicans Digest. Thank you so much for tapping in with us as we launch into another episode about nothing. You can go ahead and consider this the episode about nothing, because while a lot of moves are being made, including the blockbuster Jaylen Brown trade, which we'll get into in a minute, we have got a report and some insight on the Pelicans' thinking as we get a little deeper and deeper into this free agent session, and the Pelicans are sitting back being patient, according to a lot of reports. And depending on how you feel about it, a lot of y'all are frustrated. I can understand it. I'm low-key frustrated about it as a fan. But at the same time, I can understand not making a panic move. And that's what the Pelicans are pretty much trying to avoid in this situation, according to a lot of reports. And we're going to dig into those in a matter of minutes. But first, got to let you know that this episode is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Use the link in the description. Use the code DIGEST. And when you play $5, you get $50 instantly in lineups when you get signed up right now on Prize Picks, all right? And I will give you some picks, including some U.S. soccer action that's going to kick off in a few minutes that you need to hurry up and jump on as we get started, all right? So inside this episode, man, and I just want to start this episode by saying about patience. I understand this generation is not as patient as mine. And to give you an example, I'm 47 years old. I spent the first 31 years of my entire life waiting for the Saints, as a Saints fan, to win a championship. And they did it in my 31st year of life. I had to wait for 30 years for this team to win a championship. We're now entering year 25 of NBA basketball in New Orleans. And, you don't feel any closer to that. And I can understand the frustration amongst a lot of fan base. Like I said, all my kids have known the Saints football since they were born, and winning Saints football since they were born. My kids were born three of my kids were born in the early 2000s. And they all have seen the Lombardi Trophy getting carried down Canal Street. Now, as far as seeing the Larry O'Brien Trophy, they haven't seen that yet. And I sense their frustration, and I sense your frustration as well. But as we sit right now, the Pelicans are in a pretty bad position, considering that over the last 2 seasons, you haven't won more than 30 games. And from what all indications are telling us, you're not going to make any sort of real roster improvements. You got one roster spot left. And for the most part, it looks like they're going to run it back with a majority of this roster unless they make some moves. And again, the fan of me don't like it. But I also understand. Which is why I was interested today that I went on Instagram Threads and saw this little posting from the official Pelicans account. Everything is going to be okay. Poor Pelicans admin. Because I'm quite sure that number has increased as far as replies is right now. But according to the Pelicans, everything is going to be okay. That's what the Pelicans admin say, y'all. And I know it don't feel like it. I know it don't feel like it. But of course, as you know, the Jaylen Brown trade actually happened today. And if you don't know what the deal is, there's a blockbuster trade according to them. But the Celtics have agreed to trade Jaylen Brown to the Sixers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. And those picks are a 28 first-round pick that can convert from a first to a swap that is more favorable to Boston, a 31 unprotected Philadelphia first, a 28 second-round most favorable, and a 2030 second most favorable. And you can argue that, damn, that's all they got. But again, I continue to argue that if you were going to trade Trey Murphy for Jaylen Brown, it's an impossible ask. And according to Bleacher Report and Jake Fisher, if the Pelicans actually wanted Jaylen Brown, a Trey Murphy III for Jaylen Brown trade would have been done by now. And that's what I kept arguing. It would have been done by now, but it's not going to happen because Jaylen Brown's contract is ridiculous in terms of how much it's going to affect the Pelicans roster. Jaylen Brown stands to make $57 million next season, $60 the next, and $64 the third season, 3 seasons from now. Because now look at the Pelicans payroll again. You got $40 million tied up, $90 million of that is tied up amongst Zion, Dejounte Murray, and Jordan Poole. You're not gonna. You're not getting off of Zion. They made that clear. They're not trading Zion. So you would have to find the salaries that could match up to that. You don't have all those draft picks like Philly got and everybody else got. So that Jaylen Brown trade was going to be hard to pull off without giving up a significant portion of this roster, including Trey Murphy's contract, which is probably still one of the best value contracts in basketball at $27 million. You would have to find a lot. It would take a lot to get that one guy in here. And you're going to give up your best shooter on this team for that guy. Again, Jordan Poole, if they would have took Jordan Poole, Jordan Hawkins, awesome. But it would have been a hard trade to pull off, which is why I didn't really buy a whole lot of the Jaylen Brown stuff as far as that happening. But, you know, we've been struggling during this free agency period, especially over the last couple of days, when all you've done so far is re-sign DeAndre Jordan, trying to figure out what is this front office thinking? What is sort of the insight on what the Pelicans front office is thinking going into this free agency period? Because, again, you don't have that much money. You got roughly $12 to $15 million to spend. And as you've seen, guys are getting $20, $30 million contracts out here, signing trades that are crazy for a ridiculous amounts of money that Pelicans don't have. So, I mean, let's be real here. We have to be honest with ourselves, which is why a lot of people are calling for patience. But Brandon Scoop B. Robinson wrote an article today sort of giving us some insight as to what the Pelicans are thinking. And according to him, in a league source intimately familiar with the organization's thinking, the Pelicans front office is actively taking its time to thoroughly evaluate all available options to fix their glaring hole at the center position. And I don't think there's a glaring hole. This is year 3 for Yves Missi, and hopefully this is the year that he shines bright. And I think the team trusts in Yves Missi and his development. You've already brought back Carlo, who's not going to be a center, but can play some center position some nights. And so if you're the Pelicans, all you really need is somebody serviceable that will fit into your budget to take the pressure off of Missi in the minutes that he may not be out there. And this is something I've been arguing for the last few days. And I'm going to get into what options there are, because the options are drying out, if we're being honest. But the point of contention continues to be the Trey Murphy and what they're asking. All these guys keep complaining about Trey Murphy's price, the price we're asking for Trey Murphy. Per the source, the Pelicans' asking price for Murphy remains incredibly steep, holding firm at a threshold of at least 3 first-round draft picks. And my thing is, all these guys who've been reporting that, the Pelicans need to trade Trey Murphy. The Pelicans need to trade Trey Murphy. But that's not too much. That's asking too much. That's too much. My price is my price. It's ridiculous how y'all expect this front office and this team to give up his best shooter and his best value contract for his production level and don't want to pay the asking price. It's crazy how that works. Y'all need to trade Trey Murphy. Well, this is my price. Oh, no, he ain't worth that much. Well, then don't ask about him then. If you don't think he's that valuable, don't ask about him. Leave us alone. The price is our price. I've been saying this for the last couple of days. Our price is our price. Because you're asking us to give up one of the best value contracts. We've already extended him for 3 more seasons. Give me 3 first-round picks then. That's what I want for him. I have no problem with their asking price. I have 0 issue with that. Because I have Trey Murphy locked in for the next 3 years already. We got him locked in. So, yes, give me first-round picks for Trey Murphy. That was enough to move Boston's needle, clearly, for Jaylen Brown. But again, I will say this again. I don't think there was much smoke with the Jaylen Brown situation due to the amount of money that he's making. You're going to pay one player $50 to $60 million over 3 seasons. That's almost $200 million going to one player. The 76ers now have $500 million that they're going to have to pay out to try to win a championship with Jaylen Brown, Embiid, and the rest of those guys over the next, 2 or 3 seasons? Look, and people are starting to lambaste that trade now. A lot of people are starting, if you go on social media right now, a lot of people are like, well, damn. That really? That's what y'all willing to bet? And I don't want us to be in that position. Because a lot of people are now starting to say that Brad Stevens panicked in that situation. I don't want us to be in that situation. As bad as things may seem, I don't want us to be put in a worse situation. Now, as far as what kind of real package realistically, according to Scoop B. Robinson, New Orleans would heavily prefer to construct a trade package centered around guards Jordan Poole and or Jordan Hawkins to acquire their target center. Moving off their depth in the backcourt allows the front office to balance the roster layout without sacrificing the elite wing depth that defines their system. And I agree with that. I am with that. If you could get a center and get off the Poole Hawkins deal, I'm with that. That is the preferred method I would prefer anyway. When you look at this analytically, that is the preferred package that we need to make shape. What can you get back, though? It's tough to call, man. It's tough to call. Because, again, a lot of people don't want that contract. They don't want to deal with the Jordan Poole contract. Hawkins, I mean, you're going to have to find somebody within the $7 million range that's under contract to trade all for. But what are you getting? You're just doing a straight up and down swap at that point. At the end of the day, I would like to see a draft pick come back. So at the end of the day, man, patience. I guess we just going to have to be patient. We ain't got no choice at this point. Because executive leadership is treating this offseason like a game of chess. They know they have the luxury of time and heavy leverage with Murphy. And they are intent on waiting out the market until they can flip their guard depth for the exact interior presence they need. And I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. If that's the thinking that this front office has, I am fine with that. Now, when it comes to free agency, you're running out of time. And you're running out of options. Because now there's only pretty much all the bigs are going anyway. Hell, even Jackson Hayes got picked up. So you're running out of options as far as possible centers in free agency. One of the options you got is Nick Richards with the Chicago Bulls. Another option that you may have as far as free agency goes is Andre Drummond, which him and the next player I'm about to talk about are probably the most likely candidates for this. Andre Drummond is somebody that you could probably get in for. He says he's not. He just got off a contract deal with the Sixers for 2 years and $10 million, and he says he's not taking a pay cut. He was making 2 years at $5 million a year. You got $8 million to spend. You're with the Looney deal going off. So Andre Drummond could be one of your only options in free agency. And, of course, I said earlier this week, Marvin Bagley III, looking more and more realistically like the guy that you may have to go pick up a free agency because of his rebounding prowess. So, again, I know you don't like the options. I know we are not happy with a lot of this. I'm not. I admit that I'm not. But those are your options at this point. Because I said this last season, at the start of last season, bigs are about to become a priority in the NBA. Here we are. Bigs are a priority once again. And you can't do nothing if other guys are just re-signing back with their teams or taking bigger and better numbers that you don't want to pay. So it is what it is. Eve Missy is our center for now, and DeAndre Jordan. If you can pick up one of those 3 guys in free agency, it's optimal, I'm sure. But I feel the frustration, man. I really do. But that Jaylen Brown trade, I kind of knew wasn't going to happen. If I know what you're thinking, man. That's all they got. That's more than we could afford. And I've personally seen some of these reports saying that some teams have already offered 3 firsts for Trey Murphy. But again, how does that? A lot of these trades don't benefit us. And that's what I find so hilarious about the whole Trey Murphy Trey Murphy situation is the fact that y'all don't want to pay our asking price. Y'all want him but don't want to pay the price. All these guys want Trey Murphy but don't want to pay the price. My price is my price. Deal with it. Just gonna have to have some patience, man. I know you're running out of it, but this is my team. I'm still gonna be here for it, and I'm gonna still cover it, and I'm gonna still represent it. I still love them. I still love my team, man. I know it don't feel good right now. It's a love-hate relationship, but I still love my team. I still love my franchise. And hopefully they can find what they're looking for. And I'm fine with them being patient and not making any jumpy, panicky moves. I'm fine with that. My argument right now is let's just get the Saddiq Bey extension over with and let's move on. Find one of these guys that you got in free agency for the cheap, throw them a couple mil, and let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens on Prize Picks tonight, America's #1 sports picks app. Team USA is back in action against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Christian Pulisic, he's a discounted player tonight. Go ahead, and all he needs to do is attempt a pass, and you winning you'll hit on that one. So go ahead and get on that. And also in some WNBA action, give me Angel Reese scoring less than 14.5 points tonight against the Mystic. That's my picks for tonight. I think it's a 3x win if you jump on that on Prize Picks right now. So go get signed up at Prize Picks. Use the link in the description. Use the code DIGEST. Play $5. Get $50 instantly in lineups when you get signed up. And go get signed up. Go win you some money tonight and be patient. All right. like Pelicans NBA Twitter thread said, everything's going to be okay. We can only hope so. I know it don't look like it, but we can only hope so. Let me know your thoughts, though, on any of the players I just mentioned. Nick Richards, Andre Drummond, Marvin Bagley III. Those may be your last free agent options at this point. And again, if you're going to trade Trey Murphy, which I don't think is going to happen, we'll let them know what would you like to see in return for Trey Murphy. It's Melz talking about those Pels. Hang in there, y'all. We're going to be all right. We're going to be okay. It's Melz talking about those Pels right here on Pelicans Digest. I'll holler at you. We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much.